What's up everybody, it's me Eman from Eman's Movie Reviews, and today we're going to review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Just a heads up, this is the spoiler edition, so if you're interested in hearing the non-spoiler version, please head on over to my other video. So let's get into a quick intro. We're back following the Guardians of the Galaxy on their adventures in space, but this time around we're going to learn just a little bit more about Peter Quill's parents. With that said, let's go straight into the good.
The good.
Right off the bat, the visuals do not disappoint. You could immediately tell that the 3D element was present and it was definitely worth it. The colors were vibrant and ever present throughout the entire film. Beyond that, another highlight in this movie is the humor, and you could tell that there's more intent in making this movie funny. But what I liked about the humor was the fact that it didn't overtake the drama. Director James Gunn found a really nice way of blending both the humorous moments and the dramatic moments. But speaking about the drama, this is probably the most emotionally driven Marvel movie to date. They handled these daddy issues really well. If you pay attention to a lot of Marvel movies, daddy issues feel like a constant theme. It was almost like every character got a dose of Dr. Phil therapy or something. And that's another thing that I really liked about this movie. A lot of the characters were really well developed, especially Yondu, which was surprising. I didn't know that character had so much depth to him. And Michael Rooker did an amazing job with that character. I just loved how they handled his character and especially his death. It was just so meaningful, especially how we learned about his own backstory. It's actually kind of sad that his death meant a lot more than, let's just say, another superhero's death. Am I lying? And I love that Yondu's death was final. We're not gonna have some cheap revival or anything like that, but then again, who knows? Infinity Gauntlet, they might do something like that, but hopefully not. I think death has more of an impact when it is final. I mean, look at Logan, for example. Ooh, spoiler alert. We also get to see Rocket Raccoon get his own moment to shine too, which was definitely a great memorable moment in the film. That scene in the forest was perfectly shot. Kind of reminded me of how when Groot had his moment to shine, they gave Rocket Raccoon his own moment as well. Speaking of Groot, the only thing I can really say is he was really cute. That was it. Now, one thing that I noticed was the fact that, and this happens often in many different sequels, but whenever they find something that's really, really good in the first movie, they really like to milk it and emphasize it in the sequel. And that's exactly what kind of happened in this entire movie. They saw that the humor was a good thing, so they milked it and more humor is put into it. You can look at Yondu's arrow scene, for example. It was a really cool part in the first movie. So, of course, in this one, you get a much longer sequence of Yondu using that arrow to its full extent. And it was pretty cool. Moving on, I actually like Kurt Russell's role in this movie, and more importantly, I really like the twist that they put into the film. I mean, the whole time you knew something weird was afoot, but you just couldn't really put your finger on it. But once they do reveal what it is, I thought it was a really nice play on the character. Being more specific, I love the fact that they made Ego kill Peter's mom by giving her that tumor. Not only does that make him an easy villain, and a good villain at that, but I really like the fact that it emphasized the dynamic and the difference between the morality for an immortal deity versus a temporal human being. I mean, Ego talked about how he didn't know love until he found Peter's mom, which means that he's not going to necessarily appreciate or even understand the same concepts of love that we do as temporal beings, because we know we're not going to live forever. So we hold on to those things a whole lot more. So while Ego might look at it as a loving act to kill her, we human beings look at it as, no, that was just wrong, period. So I really liked how that whole dynamic really emphasized the disconnect between the two perceptions of what's right and wrong. But at the end of the day, Ego thought he was doing the right thing. To me, that's what makes a really good villain, when the villain is doing something that they don't really believe is actually wrong. Now, if you did happen to stay all the way to the end credits, I'm personally excited about the whole reveal with Adam Warlock. I really don't know how they're going to introduce him into the whole Infinity Wars, but I really like the fact that now we know that he exists and he's coming. All right, enough of that. Let's get straight into the bad.
The bad.
Maybe this is nitpicking a little bit, but I really didn't like the fact that they changed Drax's character to the point where now he's constantly laughing, he's constantly making jokes, he's pulling practical jokes. It just felt really weird. I just think that they lost one thing that was really cool about the character, which was he's not really funny. He doesn't get humor. What was funny about him was the fact that we made fun of him because he didn't understand humor, because he didn't understand sarcasm. and things of that nature. Not to mention the fact that he's constantly making these jokes and stuff, it kind of makes him lose his edge a little bit. I mean, in the first movie, he was kind of like a killing machine full of rage and anger, and that's always been central to his character, even in the comics. So this whole slapstick comedy Drax, I'm just not feeling. Now, one thing that is present in the movie is this whole concept of family. And I just think that it was driven a little bit too hard. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole concept and theme of family in movies can be very motivational and it can be very important to characters. However, the fact that they just kept on driving home this family, it's about family, but we're a family. I'm like, are we in a Fast and the Furious movie? Then again, Kurt and Vin Diesel were on this project. I swear, if Vin Diesel has something to do with this, I mean, it's a very good theme to subtly put in there, but you don't need to keep on ramming it in our faces. And by the way, I really hope that the guys at Honest Trailers really make that connection between Fast and the Furious and Guardians of the Galaxy and family, 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 family. You're welcome, guys. All right, last thing I had an issue with was kind of the language. I mean, at first glance, this movie does come off as kind of like a family-friendly film. And in a sense, it kind of is, because it is, you know, funny and adventurous and all that. But man, they just really were dropping a lot of S-bombs, A-bombs, B-bombs. Not to mention, there's a lot of death in this movie as well. It's not graphic or anything, but a lot of people die. So yeah, it's just not necessarily something I'd probably bring my 9-year-old to come and see. One other thing I had a bit of an issue with was the fact that they had a lot of references to like 80s pop culture or something. And I was just thinking to myself, like, who is this for? Is this for people that are like 40 years old and older? Or I don't want to disparage any of our older viewers out there, but given the fact that this movie is kind of targeted towards a younger audience, I just don't know if those references and jokes are really gonna land too much, so whatever. All right, let's head on to the reason.
The reason.
You know, the funny thing about this is, this movie felt like this was Marvel's version of Men in Black. But not only that, this also felt like Marvel's version of Deadpool. And I say that in the sense that it was able to make fun of itself without breaking the fourth wall. I mean, you'll probably notice all of the superhero landings, and there's this one scene where they do kind of like an Avengers camera spin, but then of course a joke happens during that time. Personally, if I had to compare the two, I'd probably say that the first Guardians was a little bit better. I think it was a little bit more grounded, less animated, a little bit more practical, and it was just a really good, well-rounded movie. Now, the thing with Volume 2 is, it's just that it's a different movie. It has a whole different feel to it compared to the first movie. If the first one were to be considered as like a sci-fi action adventure, the second one is more of like a sci-fi drama comedy. By the way, and hopefully you know this by now, this is a Marvel movie, so make sure you stay all the way until the end of the credits. There are going to be 5 end credit scenes that you don't want to miss. So when it comes to the rating for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. Look, this was a really good movie. It had everything that you could want. It had the visuals, it had action, it had drama, it had comedy. And this is basically the kind of movie that you want to see in a movie theater. I would say check it out as soon as you can, and don't skimp out on the 3D. The 3D is well worth, because you can actually tell that they shot this movie in 3D to make those effects really stand out. Well, that's all I've got. What did you guys think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Do you enjoy it better than the first one? Do you think the first one was better? What were some of your favorite scenes? As always, I appreciate you guys for your time. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, or share this video, because that does mean a lot to me when you guys do. I got more videos coming up for you guys, and in the meantime, I'll see you later.